Hey folks, this is Zach Withers. I'm going to call this episode 2 of the Abattoir Blues. The last video I posted was hauling animals back from a very small USDA plant located in Mountain Air, New Mexico. And I think the day after I posted that video, I found out that the plant folded, went out of business. It didn't get shut down by the federal government this time, which has happened 4 or 5 times before, at least since I started in this business. The guy with the lease voluntarily withdrew the grant of inspection, and they're no longer operating. So yesterday, or Sunday night, a couple days ago, drove 8 hogs to another USDA inspected facility in Durango, Colorado. It's just shy of 250 miles away from our farm. And now I'm going back up another 500-mile round trip to pick those animals up. I was fortunate in the respect that that plant is actually booked out through the end of 2025. Just so happened that while I was on the phone, somebody called and canceled for Monday for yesterday. So we've gone there before. We used to haul animals to Colorado all the time, every week. So Sunnyside is the one in Durango. They're a little bit more expensive. We worked mostly with a different plant up near Alamosa, a place called Manassas. A guy named Lucas Salazar is going to be bringing the Taos Montanza back to life, hopefully this spring. Anyway, pretty big blow for not just us. I mean, like, I'm a little bummed that I'm now spending 2 more days on the road, hauling those animals up there. One of them is pretty stressed out. It's not great. Grateful that we have the option and that we have those relationships and we can overcome when the local plant goes down. But it really just highlights how fragile our local food system is. It's like when that one plant goes down, it's not just us that is now in a bind. There's dozens and dozens of producers take animals into that facility every week. There's lots of businesses that were dependent on that facility for access to local markets. There's a half dozen people working at that plant that no longer have a job. That's in a town where there's not a lot of jobs around. And then consumers, like the hundreds or even thousands of people that were getting their protein through that plant, and it's a bad deal. So I'm thinking about why, because I started talking with friends, the plant is up for sale, and we were like, well, maybe we should buy it, maybe we should do this if they did it, and just the economics of it just don't make a lot of sense. The guys who are running that plant told me that it cost them about $600 to go from a live animal to packaged meat. For doing a beef, a full-size slaughter steer, and you get maybe 400 or 500 pounds of meat off of that. If you charge somebody $700 to $800, it's pretty expensive. So there's not a whole lot of people that are gonna have. It's just a tough market. When you're competing with these processors that are doing 4,000, 7,000, 15,000 head of beef a day and have multiple 100,000 head feedlots right next door. These guys are, their processing costs, they count in pennies. We're counting ours in dollars. And also that plant is it's an old sheep plant, so it doesn't actually conform with federal standards, because the federal standards are written to sort of by and for large-scale, high-speed kill plants that are processing huge volumes and doing it very quote unquote efficiently. I think the externalization of costs is something that should be factored in, because I don't think that cheap meat is actually that cheap when you think about how much goes into it. Like the amount of subsidies that get pumped into and have been and continue to be pumped into this corporate commodity food production system is really mind-boggling. It's like, just thinking about the amount of dollars that go into the research to promote mass production of corn and soy versus any other research. Like we can't even establish that putting compost on fields actually increases the productivity on the fields. Like they haven't actually studied that. Trials of how to make 400 bushel corn or dime a dozen. So I guess the bright side is that it's a really nice drive, Coming up on San Ysidro, going to be driving up through the San Juan Basin, so one of the major oil producing regions in the country. We'll be going right by our friends at NAPI, the Navajo Agricultural Products, 120,000 acre farm, mass producing commodity wheat, potatoes, grazing beef up on the Navajo Nation. And so trying to stay positive, but on the staying positive note, I did get a call back from one of the other local processors. Said that they might be able to start taking a couple animals a week. We've tried working with them before and haven't had much success. The reality is there's just like they already have a ton of customers that have been, they've been taken care of for decades, and adding another, we're not huge, but we're not insignificant in terms of the number of animals we need processed every week. So it's really tough for them to, especially since they have a lot of turnover and just don't have a lot of skilled workers right now. So they're training new folks and not able to just jump in and start providing all of the processing that we need. So I've been thinking more like, what's the actual solution for this? Because, I talked about the state meat inspection program and some redundancy in regulations, and it's housed under an organization that's more interested in policing people than, helping them. Even if we got state meat inspection going, how do you deal with the reality that we're in an upside down market when it comes to food? Like, it doesn't matter how efficient I get with what I'm doing. I will never be able to compete with Smithfield. Smithfield, just for those who aren't nerded out on the meat, monopoly world, Smithfield is a pork producer primarily. It was bought out, I think, in 2013 by a Chinese company. It was called the Xing Dui something or other, and then they changed their name to the WP Group, and I don't even know what they're called anymore. They're backed by the Chinese government. So a funny little side note story: during the pandemic, there was because of the backlog at the plants and this very predictable series of catastrophic sort of system failures. You had all these pork producers were like didn't have any place to send their hogs. I'm conflating stories. So during that happened, and there was they started just mass slaughtering hogs and throwing them away. But even before that, during the trade war with China, this is a really good one. So I think Mr. Trump got into some sort of trade dispute, and China eats like half the world's pork. They're really, China and pork is like New Mexico and green chili. It's like they produce a lot of it and they eat even more. And so during that trade war, there was, there's a large amount of this Smithfield pork that's actually owned by this Chinese company. So this is all don't even know how to explain the irony of this. Chinese company buys the largest pork producing company in the United States, is exporting pork to China to help feed the demand for pork in China. Getting a trade war. The Smithfield USA can no longer export pork to China. This drives down prices, hugely negatively impacts a whole bunch of pork producers. So the federal government they did this some legislation and sent a bunch of money to relieve the farmers who lost out on billions of dollars worth of revenue because of this trade war. But then Trump sent the check to the Chinese company that owns all of the American processing facilities for pork. And to their credit, the Chinese company sent the check back, said, we don't need your subsidies. I think that's supposed to go to the farmers. I don't think the farmers ever got the subsidies, but so, coming back to the point there, the economy of food just is really ruthless because the commodity scene is, highly globalized. So not just, the lack of access to processing and harvesting and stuff, but you see 99-cent a pound pork chops at Walmart all the time, and there is no way that we will ever be able to get our costs down. I think our costs right now are like $6-7 a pound, and that doesn't count like my time doing this. So realistically, like, we're subsidizing our product as much as we can, and it's still very expensive. So systemically, like, we can't solve this problem without realizing that we are perpetuating the problem through what are generically called cheap food policies. And it's tough because, like, on the one hand, people can't afford the food as it is right now. People are going hungry because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. And yet those groceries, the cost on those groceries is only a fraction of what it costs to produce the food. So where are we sending these subsidies? Why are we sending them to corporations? And how do we build an economy where people can make enough money to be able to afford groceries and afford to pay enough for the groceries to support the people who are producing the food, instead of exploiting, Chinese workers and playing on this, like, differential valuation of currency banker nonsense? Like, we gotta root ourselves back into reality. I gotta go get diesel.